Oh, there you are. Okay, I'm gonna hang up the phone now so we can just talk on.
Tony, you can spin around and you can sit right here, probably. Hi, Joel. How are you?
Hi, Tony. I can kind of see.
Yeah, we're getting him moved in. Just give him a minute.
Yeah, no rush, no rush. While we're waiting, Tom, what I found out from Vera is you are right. It is an initial $500 project fee. And what I'm thinking is I'm going to approach our REAC board because we're in a good position to be able to do that, and we really need to kind of get a grasp on how to do it for when we get our own projects up. So
okay. I'm just trying to catch Tony in here a little bit better.
Yeah.
There we go.
So what I was thinking was, if it's okay with you, I will go ahead and contact them and, propose that REAC do the project for you. Apparently that's quite common to get other groups to do the paperwork part. And there's also, I have some questions about the reporting, monitoring, and auditing. Like, does that have to be third party, or how do we get involved in that? So REAC is a civil society group, so that's one of the
criteria.
One of the groups that they do work with.
What I've found is those in our situation, because we are associated with municipalities, even though we're not municipalities, we don't qualify for a lot of these kind of programs.
Right, but we could.
But you can, and that's what I'm saying. So yeah, if we can have some kind of a partnership.
Yeah, and then we
especially like for Tony, especially on helping with investment into equipment or whatever, marketing, those kind of things. It can be a real struggle.
Any small recycler is not going to be able to do this kind of paperwork and the $500 per project type of thing. Or actually, no, it's just
$500 per project. It was just very vague on how they also pay. I mean,
yes,
it's like they have numbers, but it doesn't tell you, is that tonnage? Is that cubic meters? Is that square meters?
I saw the tonnage. It is tonnage, but another one of my questions for them is it goes up and down depending on volume. It goes up to 10,000 tons a year, and then it goes down after that. And I'm like, well, why does the price they pay per ton go down after the volume goes up?
Does it stay the higher rate up to 10,000?
Yes.
And then they go up lower rate for their higher tonnage, maybe.
Yeah.
And that's not uncommon. It's kind of like when you pay kilometers. Some organizations, they pay, what the going rate is right now. For example, I think it's 62 cents or 63 cents for the first X amount of kilometers, and then after that they pay a lower rate because they feel that.
So you would still get the higher rate up to the 10,000, and then, well, I'll talk to them about it. But yeah, okay, well, that's great. So we'll use your guys, especially since you already have an annual estimate.
Well, I can tell you exactly how much that we ship out.
And it's mixed plastics, right? It's not like a certain, right? Okay.
And I think that's when you go to the cities and they always want just the number 2s, and they want the number, right?
Well, they categorize things like that too.
Yeah. So, and so we're kind of unique in that. In that we take all of them, mix them together, and we do separate number 2s a little bit, but that's only so Tony can control the quality of material that he's making. So it's a
right. Yeah, he explained that to us when we were out there. So awesome.
So it's got nothing to do with it. Just trying to make a good quality product, and like I'm doing using more and more for products here all the time. In fact, we're putting a deck in right now for our truckers, and I'm going to be doing the top part with the recycled plastics. I built wind fences, and we use the boards for our wind fences. So the quality of the boards are really good. The hardest part is actually screwing them, because they're really a hard hard to screw into. You got to pre-drill
Yeah.
everything, so they're good quality
Right.
products. And I don't think you get the warping like the old ones do either, do you? You get a little bit, but not as bad as the old stuff.
Yeah, it depends on the plastic you
Right.
put in, and it also depends on how you store it. If you store it crooked, it goes
Right.
crooked. If you stack
Right.
them good, then they stay straight.
But it used to be you had to do like your centers had to be on 12-inch, and Tony says he's had really good luck at 16-inch, just like regular construction.
Right
So-
on.
So the quality I think is just so much better.
Well, that's great.
Did-
Okay, well, we'll carry on
Tony
with
has a
that.
question for you here.
It's probably gonna take a while, but I'll keep you posted, Tom, and
Okay,
you know,
Tony has a
before-
question, I think, for you.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, just a quick question. Did I ever send you the pictures of the decks?
I don't believe so. No, that would be great if you could
There's
send
boat
those.
docks, there's a boat dock.
Oh, yes,
There's all
please send
sorts of
those and,
stuff.
and we'll incorporate that into the video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And is this your cell? Is this your cell number that you sent on the paper? Or can I send them to that, message them to that number? Or I guess I can email them.
Yeah, or email.
What?
Email would be
Yeah.
easier. It's easier for me to save on my computer, but either way, yeah, either way works.
Okay, yeah, I'll email them as soon as I get home.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks for remembering about that. So for our interview with Tony, I think we're gonna have to shift the camera over, Tom,
Yep,
so we can.
or scoot him over, or here, Tony, maybe we'll get
Or
it.
something.
You'll bring one of those smaller chairs over here.
One of these from here.
Yeah. We'll just get cozy here.
Yeah, no rush. Yeah, we've got a whole hour and we won't need all of that. I don't think. Perfect.
You might stand in here first and then. Here, let me get me a smaller chair too.
What are we looking at? Is that Westlock landfill behind you there?
Yeah, we're in Tom's office at the landfill.
Oh, cool. Okay. Right on.
Yeah, it's still a work in progress. I had a modular put in here a few months ago, so we're still trying to get things organized a little more.
Right on. So, Tom, do you need to be in frame for this too? Do you want to be part of it?
It's up to you. If you
Yeah,
want me here,
'cause-
fine. If not, fine. You want to just interview Tony first?
I think so,
Okay,
because
well,
what
then
we're
I'll go
doing
do
is
some work.
we're we're interspersing this footage with what we took out at his facility. So yeah,
Perfect.
it makes sense to have Tony just
Sure.
on his own
Okay,
there.
well, you
And
just
then
put
we
that
can
over
get
there.
you centered a bit more, Tony, right on camera. That'd be perfect.
Did
Awesome.
my hair work out after my
Your hair looks
driving?
nice. Yeah.
Okay, that's
Keep
good.
your head up. I know if I put my head down, then it just looks different. So
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, this is great. So we had discussed answering, just one of those questions, and then we'll go into the description of how the plastic moves through your facility. Did you decide which question you wanted to answer?
I was thinking the first one and then kind of lead into the last one because
Oh, yeah, perfect. Okay, so
and then
I'll
the
just
two
go
middle-
ahead.
the two middle questions are they're not irrelevant, but nobody gains anything from
No,
those answers.
you're right. Okay, that sounds ideal. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you the question, and then it's up to you to answer, and we'll
Okay,
have
let
our
me
footage.
just give me a second to get my
Yeah.
first sentence at least down pat.
Yeah, no trouble, no trouble at all.
What gave you the idea to start?
Yeah,
Producing
that's the
plastic
question.
number? Okay, I'm good to go.
Okay, Tony, thanks so much for making the time. And I'd like to ask you, what gave you the idea to start recycling plastic?
Well, the idea came probably 25 years ago. We had a little company in Calgary where we picked up the Blue Box program. So we were picking up plastic, glass, metal, and paper. We could always get rid of the paper, the glass, and the metal, but the plastic was always an issue to get rid of. So we had to sort it. And then at that time you could ship it to China, which is what we ended up doing, but the costs were high. Labor just sorting and getting the stuff out of there. So then a few years later, I stumbled across some equipment that could make the plastic lumber. And I've been doing some changes with that equipment to make it more economically feasible. And so here we are 20 years later. And thanks to COVID, I hate to say that, but
sorry, you were saying thanks to what? I didn't quite catch what it was.
I was saying it's not so much thanks to COVID, but because of
Oh.
COVID, I guess a lot more people got into gardening when they were shut down for the time being. It was kind of an unsure economy at the time, especially as everybody knows. So sales went up, and then just this summer the price of lumber went up, and it made us more competitive. So now we're competitive with treated lumber. Actually, we can do it even at a better price than treated lumber.
Right on. And you're a machinist, aren't you, Tony?
I'm a heavy duty mechanic by trade for 30 years. And in there, I just did a lot of welding. So I'm a good welder. So in other words, I change all the equipment around myself. I did, I don't know how many, just a horrendous amount of hours of work to change this equipment so that it would work for what we're doing.
And different iterations of the process, and continually refining it and making it better, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right. It was do a change. A lot of it was do a change, run a whole bunch of plastic through the system, and then to find out that change didn't work. So take it all apart and change it this way and that way. And probably one of the biggest changes I made, I went from electric to diesel. And the nice thing about diesel engines are you shut them off and they quit costing you money. So you don't need the big expensive 3-phase 100 horsepower electric. And I took an engine out of an old combine and configured it to the equipment. And I would have to say I would never, without that option to shut it off and then do some more maintenance or do the changes that I had to do to make it work. Without that option, I could never do it because.
Are you saying that? Oh, sorry. Are you saying that with electric you can't shut it off?
You can shut it off, but the bill keeps coming. So the first thing, as soon as you have, it's called 3-phase electric. As soon as you use that amount of power, you need an expensive shop. They just don't run those big power lines into my garage kind of thing.
Right.
And then the other thing is when even, especially 3-phase, it's a little bit different than your residential electricity, whereas 3-phase, the bill keeps coming after when you're not using the equipment. There's a formula in there, but you get quite a high bill.
All the distribution charges and the
admin, that's right.
Right.
And because they have to have that amount of power ready for you to use as soon as you turn it on, you still even get some power bill in it, and it's a formula. I don't know. But the diesel engine, so I can put it in my own shop on my acreage in my backyard, and when I'm doing maintenance, I shut it off and it's not costing me nothing.
Well, as I found out when I plugged in my electric vehicle at your place, there's not a lot of power out there, and I've found it at other friends in rural places as well. It's the power is different. It charges a lot slower. So that was super interesting. And I understand what your point about diesel for sure.
Yeah.
Can you just describe for us the process of the plastic going through your facility? Like, how does that work? You go get it from Tom's, and then what happens?
Okay, yeah, first of all, Tom grinds it into 3/4 inch chips. And I would have to say, to start with, without the West Loch Regional Waste Management doing that, I would be nowhere. So in other words, that's a big chunk of the process, is just grinding the plastic. But it's also, he gathers it from the surrounding communities here, the counties. And so, yeah, I can't emphasize how important his operation is to mine. And then from there, it took time, but I figured out generally what types of plastic were in the mixed up plastic, because he's taking just residential post-consumer plastic and he's grinding it all up and putting it into bags. So I have to add a little bit of this or a little bit of that to make it run it makes it run better, but it also makes a better quality board, and it also makes a better looking board. So one of the things that I have to do is weigh costs, because I have to pay for all this plastic from one end to the other. So I got to weigh the costs to what I can get for the board, and that's a process that takes kind of years to figure all that out. But we're there. I know what I need now, and we're pretty much there.
For sure,
Sorry.
you guys are right in production. So you go get it from Tom. It's pre-ground. So you bring all this pre-ground. Is it in those bags? Those big...
It's in those bags, yeah. And then I'll pick up other plastic from other places that I know what type of plastic. It's a pure plastic. It's mostly comes from industrial applications. So I mix it up, or I dump it all into a big truck box, and then that truck box augers it up into a mixer and a dryer. It's key that the plastic is dry. It just doesn't, wet plastic just doesn't work. So the mixer and dryer, or the mixer and dryer is the same unit, and it's an old grain dryer actually that again took quite a bit of work to get it going. So it mixes it and it dries it, and from there we run it through a second auger, and it goes into the extruder, it's called. So what the extruder is, it's 120 horsepower diesel motor. It was 100 horse electric on it before, and I switched it to diesel, like I was saying. And so it feeds it in, and it takes 100 horsepower, and it reduces the speed right down to 1 round per second on a screw and barrel. So it's pushing it through. They call it a screw and barrel system. And so it pushes it through that screw and barrel. The pressures are just huge. And then it forces it into a mold. The molds are expensive because the steel on the molds are 1 inch thick all the way around. Expensive to build and expensive. The steel itself is expensive to buy. Mm-hmm. And so then there's 10 molds on a carousel. As I'm filling one, we'll pull a board out of another one. And then once that one is full, then we turn it over and it goes underwater. So we always have 8 underwater. You're taking one out and you're filling another one. And yeah, like I say, the process, we're getting it to the point where it's working good and fast. You got to be within reasonable time to do it. So.
Right on. Well, that's a great explanation. I think that's going to go really well with our footage from your facility there. Yeah. We can kind of intercut you talking about it. So yeah, that's super great. You know what? I think that's all we need. I mean, unless there's anything else you want to add. You made some notes.
Do you want me to talk a little bit about the tonnage?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of volumes are you working in these days, Tony?
We do, when we're running good, we run at about 300 to 400 pounds an hour. All last summer, we ran 2 days a week, 2 10-hour days a week. So we're only running 20 hours a week. I would like to get it up to 5 days a week, and then possibly even we can run a night shift or an afternoon shift, whatever. So at 300 pounds an hour, we're doing about, let me see, 6,000 pounds a week, being 2,400 pounds a month that we're doing. Call it 250,000 pounds a year. That number, the number that I have in the back of my mind is 500,000 pounds a year is where we want to be. If not next summer, within a year or two, I would say. It depends on the market, and it depends on if we can get the plastic, and it's easier said than done, I guess.
Wow, that is excellent news. That's really great to have those to have the statistics and the data as well. So that's really important. And I don't know if you are, but I hope you are, or you can start keeping track of the cost of your inputs as well. So, you know, the cost of the diesel, the cost of your labor, the cost of things.
Yeah.
Just something to keep in mind for future reference.
No, you're right. And I do too, on a kind of in the back of my mind, I do, but I should have a spreadsheet and have a real defined system.
Yeah, it would be worth it because with this plastic crediting thing, we're looking at reporting, monitoring and auditing. So that's the kind of thing that will be needed. It's probably going to take a while to, sign up with a project with them. But that's the goal. So we'll see how that goes. Here's another question, Tony. Kanaski is an Indigenous-led waste management company up here, and they have some volume in Edmonton that they're looking for someone to recycle. And I still need to get a bit more information about it. One of the things they have is big plastic sheets. And this is industrial products that they're looking to recycle. They're clean, so they haven't been in a garbage bag or something like that.
Yeah.
Is that something you would potentially be interested in if I find out more about it?
One is, it depends on the type of plastic that it is.
Type.
And second, can we break it down into a 3/4 inch chip? So in other words, if it's a hard enough or a thick enough of a sheet that you can put it into a plastic grinder or granulator, some people call it, then it's a good plastic. Kind of the general rule of thumb: good plastics float, bad plastics sink. So without knowing the type of, like, I get a lot of calls: does this plastic work or does that plastic work? And I just tell them, if it floats, we'll take it. If it sinks, it's not good. It's not good for us. We can take some and we blend.
And just mix it in with the other stuff.
Yeah, you blend a little bit in.
When you say it's bad plastic because it sinks, to me, if it's sinking, that means it's heavier. That means, heavier than water. That means it's denser. Why is that bad? Help me understand.
It's melt index. So let's say a pop bottle, for instance, it sinks. You take a pop bottle, you fill it up with water, and you put it in a pail of water, it'll go to the bottom. That plastic melts at a way higher temperature than, say, a milk jug, for instance. And a milk jug will float if you fill it up with water and you put it in a pail of water. So it's always a fine line. Or the other one is PVC. To back up a little, PVC sinks, but it melts very first. It melts at a way lower temperature.
Is that right?
So as soon as you have that spread too far, you're either burning one and the other one isn't melting. So you got to kind of keep it within that parameter.
You want to mix it so it's always kind of a little bit stable melting temperature.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and if there's not that much of either one of the, we'll call them bad plastics or good plastics, but of the unacceptable plastics, there's not that much. They just blend in and you never see it. They're little chunks inside the board, but they don't.
Yeah, for sure. But PVC has other issues too. So it sinks, but it has a low melt temperature. And here's the thing with PVC: it contains chlorine as well. So there might be some kind of release melting it. I'm looking at a report called "Melting Plastic and Gas Emissions," and it has the melting temperatures of PLA, ABS, PET, and HIPS. This is part of our research project that we're doing, but I see that generally speaking, the melt temperatures are about half or less than the burn temperatures.
Yeah, that's right. And if we have too much PVC in there, we get a rank odor off the lumber and off the equipment when we're melting it.
Is that right?
Yeah, and you can feel that it's toxic, whereas that shouldn't be so. And that's just one of the factors. The other factor is we need everything, or our mixture has to float in the end, because we cool everything in the cooling tank, and everything has to come up, or else you're gonna end up draining the tank and digging all this stuff out of the bottom. Is another issue.
Right, and then PVC is black too, usually. Hey, so it's
the lumber is usually darker gray and black, so the black part isn't really that big of an issue. It's more the sinking and the melt index of it.
Interesting. So interesting. Well, thank you. I'm going to find out more about those plastic sheets.
I was asked to come and see you by a couple of friends.
I got the company.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty much done anyway. I mean, unless you can think of anything else you'd like to talk about, but
No, that's, I would say that's it. Or unless you have, or something comes up, phone me. I'll send you those pictures, those
oh yeah,
photographs.
please do. Yeah,
When I get home, and
that would be great to have a picture of a boat dock, a nice lake. It'd be superb. Yeah,
boat
for
dock.
sure.
The decks are nice. The boat dock, the guy that was from Saskatchewan, he sent me the picture. He bought a whole bunch of lumber off me actually. And I emailed him back. I said, sweep off your deck before you. It doesn't look that nice because he's got sand all over it and everything.
Oh, wow.
But there's some nice decks. So we did some real nice decks this year, and they're called a floating deck, but they use them in the RV parks where it's just a 6 inches for the camper, in front of
Right.
the camper and stuff. And,
Yeah.
and people are just loving it. Yeah.
Awesome.
So it's all
Well,
good.
good for you guys. Yeah, keep her up, and thanks for your work, and thanks for making time for this video as well.
No
Really
problem.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you later.
Yeah. Bye.